Hello again to this video clip series that I'm calling My Journey to God in a Very Secularized World. I would like to continue that we were talking about the difficulty in this period of time. And I'd like to show a few quotes to give you an idea that will be difficult, that it will be so difficult in this period of the Great Tribulation, Matthew 24:21, that Our Lady revealed to Father Golby this message. She said, in these last times, the struggle between good and evil, between grace and sin, between God and Satan, is reaching the summit of its power. It seems that in your days, Satan has attained his victory, as during the Sabbath when Jesus lay lifeless in the sepulchre. My motherly plan is to give comfort to you in your sorrow, to pour balm on each of your wounds, and to give confidence and great hope to you in your discouragement. How difficult are the days in which you are living. This is the conclusive period of the purification of the Great Tribulation. In fact, all humanity is possessed by the spirits of evil, and my church is shaken by the impetuous wind of errors and division and unbelief and of apostasy. The time is close when justice will espouse itself to divine mercy for the purification of the earth. Prepare yourselves, all of you, to bear the pain of the great purifying trial. This is her message to Gobi on June 27, 1996. She also says, I want to act through you, O priests, consecrated to my Immaculate Heart. This too is part of my plan. The evil one, my adversary from the beginning, is now in the process of seducing a great number of priests, and he is working among them and gathering them together against my Son, against me, and against the church. I am personally intervening and calling together into my cohort the priests who are determined to remain faithful. I call them all to consecrate themselves to my Immaculate Heart and to take refuge in me. The struggle will be especially between me and the ancient serpent, whose head I will in the end crush. And so I now ask of you only those things which, according to you, human way of looking at things, seem small and insignificant. As day by day propaganda increases, as well as the clamor of the enemies of God who are succeeding in winning everything over to themselves. All I ask of you is to respond with your trust and total abandonment, with prayer, with suffering, and with your silence. However, whatever you offer to my heart will become in my hands a terrible weapon with which to fight and to win this battle. To the haughty cohort of the arrogant who rebel against God, I will reply with the cohort of my little, humble, despised, and persecuted sons. And through you, the victory will belong, in the end, to the humble handmaid of the Lord. That was her message of October 30th, 1975. Also, we read St. Paul, similar to this. St. Paul says, do you not know that in a race all runners compete, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. Well, I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air, but I pommel my body and subdue it, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. 1 Corinthians 9. And again, St. Paul says, I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us. Romans 8. I would like to continue here in a topic that I wrote in an article that's called "Those Who Open Their Eyes Are Labeled Conspiracy Theorists." They don't want people to open their eyes to what's happening. It's very, very important for them they don't want people to open their eyes. They want everybody to just go gently along with how they're being brainwashed. You know, in January of 2023, Cardinal Pell, in January, at a certain point, Cardinal Pell was in good health. And then he spoke rather strongly, Cardinal Pell, in January 2023. He defined the Synod of Bishops called by Francis to deepen the theme of synodality and what the church of the future should be like. He called it a toxic nightmare. In the secret Vatican memo, Cardinal Pell wrote, "Commentators of every school, if for different reasons, agree that this pontificate is a disaster in many or most respects, a catastrophe." He said already in January 2023, he said, "Stop the synod," the last cry of Cardinal Pell. You can find articles in my article about this. It says, and then shortly after he said those, almost like the day after, Cardinal Pell suddenly dies. He had good health. He suddenly dies. It's interesting also that the ones who wrote the dubia regarding Amoris Laetitia, very shortly after, two of them died, and they're both in good health. You know, John F. Kennedy spoke out against the secret societies and the coming world dictatorship, and also printing money by the government instead of private banks of the Federal Reserve. And so Kennedy too was eliminated, as were several presidents before him, including Abraham Lincoln, who printed government money. For similar reasons, in a sly, hidden way, Aldo Moro, Italian Prime Minister, was killed in 1978. The Red Brigade was only a cover for the real assassins, the Freemasonry. By now, the only solution is God. God helps those who truly live the Ten Commandments with much prayer. A lot of times they put it on Facebook. They want to talk about all these things politically, this and that. But the real solution is to live the Ten Commandments, which nobody wants to do. No one wants to pray or live the Ten Commandments, but they only want to shout political things and so on. But the solution is God. Only God can help us at this point. You know, Freemasonry strongly promotes political correctness, and thus conspiracy theorists are seen as out of touch with reality and highly ridiculed. Thus few open their eyes to the fact that for years Freemasonry, guided by its Grand Master, who is guided by Satan, have been working to lead the world to the worst dictatorship in the history of the world, the Great Reset, which in the end, with the help of the one world religion headed by the false prophet, will lead as many people as possible to adore the Antichrist, Revelations 13. If one overcomes the great pressure to be politically correct and overcomes human respect, one quickly begins to put the pieces of the puzzle together and to understand the motives for what is going on in the brainwashing of the highly controlled mass media. They don't want us to realize this. By now, the forces of evil have the mainstream media totally in hand. The people do not have the strength to resist because very few of the good pray and live their prayer. That is, thy will be done, not my will be done. Very few live the Ten Commandments, and thus they are not able to distinguish between the beautiful lies of the television and the truth that sets us free that comes from God. For the people who do not live the Ten Commandments, their gospel is the television. Perhaps the greatest weapon of the New World Order, directed by the proud elite of the world, is the mainstream media, along with modern computer technology, which made it surprisingly easy to overturn a presidential election a couple of years ago, and to brainwash the masses of people toward their goals of the worst dictatorship in the history of the world. And you can find an article in this a reference in the article I'm talking about here that even several years ago, in the time before Obama was elected the second time, on YouTube, title, it's called "Programmer Under Oath Admits Computer Rig Elections." I will stop here. May God bless you and Mary guide you.